Hey guys, how's it going? There's a lot of activity going on around our house today. A lot. There's already 2 crews here working on some things that I wanted to show you, and we are expecting our annual plant load to arrive today, which is a sizable load, which means we need to do some cleanup and organizing in our greenhouse and in the high tunnel to prepare for that. It is breezy and we're expecting a temperature of 38 degrees tonight. So all the plants that end up in the high tunnel we are going to cover, even though it's not going to freeze. They're coming from a warm greenhouse. And I really wish we could have waited a couple of days, but you just never know what the weather is going to do. And I also would like to share our rough idea of how we're going to use the property behind our barn, which is an evolving process. There's still a big portion of it we don't know what we're going to do with, but we at least know how we're going to set up the lane, and we're going to move our high tunnels back there and all of that. So first off, the electricians are here. They are running an electrical line from our barn to the well that exists on the property behind our barn. So we're hoping to get that all set up today because we are going to have some sprinkler lines run this next week and hose faucets and all of that so that we have water access back there. And there's another crew here doing some concrete work, which I can show you first. So the crew was here yesterday building the forms for the few projects they're working on. This one right here by our barn, they are pouring a new approach. I don't even know if that's what it's called. Is it called an approach?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we had this door put in after we moved in, and we had the middle door repositioned. So they're going to pour an extension on this one. We didn't really see a need to tear out the whole thing. They're just going to pour a little bit of extra because I don't think it's that big of a deal. Yeah. And then they'll pour one right here so we have better access. My goodness, I might even need to go get a coat on. Oh, the sun does feel good. There's the concrete truck right there. There's the old well. Electricians are working on that. And then they're also pouring some stairs. We put this door in behind the barn a couple years ago, and we've just been stepping down quite a distance. So we'll have a nice step right there, which will be very handy. 2 other concrete things. They are working on the new basketball hoops. So I haven't even looked at these forms yet. Okay, so here it is. It's going to be flush with the existing concrete. This is the thing they have to bury right here. And then we'll put the hoop down on these bolts. It's quite a hole. They're working on that one as well. And in front of the house, they created a form to pour a base, a foundation for our large fountain, which is currently sitting over here. That way it'll stay level. We won't have one side sink. We've got conduit running from the center over to the electrical outlet right over there. That way we can run our pump cord and all of that really easily. And this will be really nice to have it all set in stone. Okay, so I think we've looked at all the concrete projects, and by the end of the day, we'll be able to walk back through and see what they look like. It is nice to get those things checked off the list, though. The barn projects, the stairs and the approach, I think we could have maybe done that 2 or 3 years ago after we had that door put in, but you know how it goes. Those things just kind of moved down the priority list, and once we had a number of things that we needed done, we thought, well, now is a good time to have a crew out and just get them all done all at once. And oh my goodness, this breeze is chilly. I want to move somewhere else where we can talk through sort of the thought process for the area back behind the barn. Now, as far as Burke Electric, they're just here trenching that electrical line. There's going to be not much to see there. It's just extra activity going on the property today. I think we'll head to the Hartley. It'll be nice in there. Look at this though. Starting with the red car, there's 3 vehicles. There's 3 Burke Electric vehicles. There's the concrete truck. Oh my word. Oh yeah, much better in here. So for the area behind the barn, I just wanted to share where we're at, what we're thinking for that space. We still don't know exactly how we're going to use it. We've tossed a lot of different ideas around. I told Aaron maybe we should do a dahlia field. Wouldn't that be pretty? So much work, but it would be pretty. We thought about doing just row crops of various kinds, trying out different things, kind of having an experimental area back there. That might be what happens, but I'm not prepared to do that now. We've got enough going on in other areas of our garden that I want to work on and focus on without adding another one. We've also talked about a rec pond back there, which, until we get everything ironed out with our current pond, I don't really want to go there. There's just a lot of different things we've talked about, the possibilities. But for now, what we're going to do, now let's toss a picture up on the screen and I'll try to walk you through it as best I can. I'm so visual that even just seeing a loose sketch like this, I just did this in iPhotos. You just do the edit, hit edit in iPhotos and then do the markup button, which is like the little pencil icon, and then you can kind of draw on your pictures. So this is incredibly rudimentary. Anyway, let's take a look. Okay, so there it is. There's kind of the overall idea. You can see our current barn right there, and you can see where the Hartley is, where the basketball court is, all of that. Our lane, first of all, will veer to the right to go parallel the barn to where you can access the back of it. You can see kind of that shaded gray area. We eventually want to have some sort of cover built right there just to house our gators, supplies, things like that, somewhere where it's just protected from the elements. And then it will also continue going on, and it will lead you to the play area first, and then over there to the barn, and then it will curve around the back side of the property, which to the right of that, so that's the north side of the property. This whole area right here is a slope. There's not much we can do on that. I mean, it's very steep. So right along the lane, we will landscape it a bit, but I don't want to do it too tall because it will block the view of the mountains, which they're way over here, but I like to see them. So we'll do some shorter things right there and then maintain the trees that are currently there. And then along the west, right here, where all those little green X's are, we are going to berm that up just slightly so that we create some instant elevation, and we're going to plant that up just in a mixed border, just very pretty evergreens, deciduous, some flowering shrubs, things like that, to where, you know, it creates something nice for our neighbors back there to look at, but then also it creates just a nice backdrop. Now, right here behind that shaded area in the barn, you can see I've done that little gray curve thing. That I kind of want to berm that up a little bit as well and plant some things, because when you're in this area or the play area, I don't really want to look back and see all of our stuff behind the barn either. I want to kind of block it from everyone's view as best we can. So I have some like gray squiggles in there. I don't know exactly what that will become, but moving toward kind of our existing pond area, which is right here, you can see like the little white squiggly line. That's a walkway that will navigate you through where the Dream Stream plans are, and it will take you to the basketball court area and then also over to the play area. There is kind of a green kidney bean shape area back there. That is also a berm, which will help make a waterfall make sense, which will be the back side of the Dream Stream. And it will curve forward and sort of mask a little bit the basketball court area as well. I just want it to be full of beautiful things. And then right around the play area, we've got 3 dots between the basketball court and the play area. Those will be some tall columnar, probably deciduous trees. And then the green X's around the west side of it, those are gonna be shade trees because we wanna shade the play area. Now, the big green area in the middle, that is going to be lawn right now. It is already lawn, and that's not what we want to keep it. We didn't want more grass, but I don't want necessarily more flower beds back there either, or anything else that I have to maintain at this point until we have other things sort of buttoned up and done. So it's likely over the years we'll be carving into that grass for other reasons, to do other projects, but for now, so that we can avoid having it be a dust bowl, a weed area, or just something that's really hard and a lot of labor to maintain, we're gonna keep it grass. And I do like grass, and so does Aaron. I feel like sometimes I fall in the pro no grass group, and then I also fall in the pro grass group. I don't know. I feel like just whatever makes sense for your life at the time. And I personally like grass in areas. I feel like it brings some peace. I mean, you don't need a lot of it, but I feel having some breathing space in all areas instead of a big jumble of plants all over the place can really bring some order visually for me. So while I don't want this huge of a piece of grass there, eventually I would like to maybe do something different, and maybe we'll do some kind of like a wildflower meadow or something. We've got to figure all that out though. And that's why Burke Electric is here. They're gonna get the well set up, electricity to that, so we can get a pump set up, and then we can get our sprinklers in so that we have the ability to do whatever it is we end up doing in that space long term. It'll all be set up. The infrastructure will be there. However, we will always keep some lawn in front of the play area and maybe spilling over the other side a bit, because I want the ability to throw out a blanket for a picnic, that sort of thing, but we will have shade trees in the mix. And the last thing, along this east fence line, I don't know if you can see where I've colored it in kind of green, we have a load of trees coming the first week of June to plant up a big long hedge right there. And I know it might surprise some of you to hear they are not North Pole arborvitaes. We've got a little bit more space in that area to work with. I want to say it's like 20 to 25 feet right there. I'd have to measure it to be sure. 20 feet is probably pretty close, but that gives you the ability to do some different things. But we're going to plant the trees fairly close to one another, and we want a fairly quick hedge right there in between us and our neighbors. I think it'll be really pretty, really beautiful backdrop. And I think the way we have this, like the high tunnels, that's the one thing I worried about was high tunnels. Where can we position these things to where we don't see them and our neighbors don't see them because they're not pretty to look at, big plastic bubbles. You know, the greenhouse that we have by our barn, I didn't feel too bad about because that was there before any of the other houses along that subdivision were built. So whoever, you know, bought those lots, they knew what they were in for there. But that doesn't mean I want to go pop up a high tunnel, a big plastic high tunnel right behind somebody's fence line, you know, because those houses are pretty close to the fence and I would be sad if that was my view. So I think having those right in here will be super nice. So that means the lane will pop out further. There'll be less grass. I mean, this little area where it's kind of like bumped in toward the tree there, that will be shaved off quite a lot to make room for those. But then we can plant the interior here and that will be planted so that really nobody will be able to see them. I think it really is the ideal situation right there, I think. So in order to get all of that going back there, we have to get the infrastructure in place, which means we have to have water and electrical run everywhere. So we're kind of in the same position we were when we bought the pasture, you know, the south garden area that was just raw pasture. There was nothing there except for, it was well maintained by our neighbors. There weren't any thistles, there weren't any noxious weeds. It was a nice dryland grass look out there, but we still had to run water, electrical. We had to, you know, get our lane, the gravel lane put in. I don't know, there's a lot of work up front before you can get to the pretty stuff. So unfortunately, this area is going to probably start looking a little worse before it looks better because the grass area that is out there, I mean, well, the whole thing, it's really rough. It's very uneven, even though visually it doesn't look like that. And Aaron wants to make sure it's nice and leveled out and it's nice and smooth and all of that business. So we're in for it this season. We aren't watering that, well, because we don't have the well set up, and we aren't watering the piece in front of the Persephone garden either. Thankfully, we've had a tremendous amount of rain, so they still look really good, but this summer they start looking pretty bad. So I'm just warning you guys up front. So I hope that that was semi-clear. Sometimes I'm really bad at explaining things, actually a lot of the times, because when I'm trying to explain an idea to Aaron, he's like, what? I don't know, I think he and I speak a different language. So seeing a little bit of a picture or a sketch is usually helpful to me. So now we're gonna move on to our next project, which is prepping for the annuals. Like I said, it's a pretty big order. So we're gonna have to utilize the heated greenhouse and the high tunnel. The heated greenhouse is where we're gonna start. I've got to move some plants out. There's a lot in there that I can give away as well. So that is going to be the order of the day. I'll show you what it looks like to begin with. Then we'll probably haul into it and then we'll look at it afterward. So here we are. I mean, it's not a huge mess, but I need to take after the sandboxes were only meant to be here through the winter, but it ended up being a super big hit, way bigger hit than the grass lawn that we grew in here last year. The kids come in here every single day and play. And when I'm out here watering or if I'm messing around with something, working on a project, they love to come in here and play and they ask to come out here. So I don't really want to dismantle them completely, but I figured we could at least cover them for a short time and scoot them under the table just so that they're out of our walking paths. And then we can move them back out once we clear out some of the annuals that come in today. So it's just a quick look around. We've got a bunch of geraniums that after tonight, I think we can get these out and get them planted. We've got some anise hyssop. It started from seed. Look at this. These are just amazing growers. There's also lots of space. The mangaves, I'm excited to get those planted, but I've been waiting for temperatures to level off. I need to clean up this area so that we have the ability to open the door, which means there's a Japanese maple out there we need to move. I need to actually repot it, but I want to be able to have the tables run lengthwise here. So I'm gonna have to move green stalks. Look at this one. Just absolutely full of flowers, so pretty. We've got a whole bunch of seedlings and other plants along the way here on these tables. There's things like the artichokes we potted up. They actually produced fruit this winter. I think I'll give those away and some other things that I probably won't use. There's also some pretty nice looking weeds. Look at that big old bush back there. Big Chinese lettuce right there. And our citrus trees are right back here and they're starting to load up with fruit. Look at that. Ah, it's so fun. And I do have my work table. I've got a potting tray. I just need to clean this stuff up, get these trays inside, and maybe even we can use this as a surface to house some plants for a little bit. Just need to clear some stuff out. So I will bring you along as best I can for this little clean out project, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. right, guys, got it organized, cleaned out for the most part, and we made some space for the more tender annuals that are coming. Now, I don't have the heat on to this greenhouse anymore, but we do have the double layer of plastic, and it does have the end walls on it, which is very, very helpful. The high tunnel doesn't have end walls, so the air kind of goes through there. They are protected from any kind of frost or a light frost, and they're protected from some wind. We're still going to cover the ones that arrive and are put in that high tunnel, but in here we'll move things like coleus, basil, things that are just a little bit more tender. But oh my goodness, it's looking good. We managed to keep the sandboxes out from underneath tables so the kids can still access those fine, and I can still get to these geraniums to water them. Somebody is enjoying the exposed soil here. Russell, what are you doing? Do you love this tray? Oh yeah. I went through my supplies, which I store in a humidity dome, and moved to the barn the things that I don't need directly out here and kept the stuff that I use. Hey babe, I know, do you see Russell in there? You want to give him some pets? He's been sleeping. And I do have a couple of things, like these basketball roses. Sabrina from California sent these out to us last year, and they've been wintering over in here. And because it's going to be 38, I don't really want to plant them out quite yet. Even though 38's not going to kill them, but it could hurt some of their new leaves. Anyway, so those will stay in here for a little while until we have a chance to plant them out once it warms up a bit. And we'll just start here in this corner. We've got the mint plants. I moved those over. Those will eventually go out. This is my pile that ended up out here. And Aaron. Hey.
Phone call. Might be the annuals.
Oh! Anyway, you can see my pile out here. We've got the Japanese maple from behind the greenhouse, and then a few perennials and stuff that we need to work on getting planted out. Oh, he says yes, it is the annuals. We usually get a call from the driver shortly before they arrive. So anyway, we'll speed through this real quick. Anyway, the mint plants and some groomed up geraniums. And then starting here on the tables, I just consolidated. There's so much that needs to be planted. Snapdragons, Lisianthus, some other like perennial things. Oh, right here, Nick from my formal cottage garden, he sent Benjamin this super cool microscope, and we've been on a bug hunt using this. So we find the bug, check it off, and then we get to inspect it with this microscope. And I found in my clean out a dragonfly. It's not alive, but I told Benjamin we probably wouldn't be able to find a dragonfly or a grasshopper until later this summer. So he's going to be so excited. I think that counts, even if it's not alive. Tell you one thing, it'll be a lot easier to look at. We've been finding the bugs and then trying to look at them as they're moving, you know, around, but it's so cool. Moving on, we've got some other things. Cresspedia going out to the cut flower garden. Mary from Georgia sent us out a couple of pomegranate plants. I just haven't had a chance to get them potted. They're still in their little baggies with the moist paper towels. That's how they arrived, and they're looking pretty good. We moved a couple of the green stock vertical gardens over here because I just recently planted these up. One's full of herbs and one's full of flowers, and I wanted them to be a little bit more protected, so we can move one table out, because it's easier to have tables that you can go all the way around, because the flats that come you can almost not fit to this way, so they're going to have to overlap, and you don't have to have them overlap the edges quite as far as when they're up against the walls. So anyway, 2 tables out in the middle that are available for plants. Little space back here, we've got some Dusty Miller. These are the new look variety. I started them last year from seed. We planted them out in the landscape, and then I used them again after we were done. In the fall, we took them out of pots that we had potted them in, and they've got some really pretty blooms on them right now. We've got a couple of figs back here. The Chicago Hardy, there's 2 of them. I did starts for my other fig, which is the big plant right up front. There's a ginkgo. This is an Olympian fig right here. I can see it starting to form some. Our little citrus corner right here, which they're awesome. And then on this side's full. These are my seedlings, the ones I haven't planted out yet. Containers of geraniums that we dug out of the ground and potted. I potted up these 2 containers last winter. Look at this calla. I mean, so gorgeous. And clearly very happy. Got a lot of our perennial stuff, the mangaves. There's a little tray full of the tomatoes and peppers and dill. And then a bunch of seedlings. There's corn cockle, feverfew, chamomile, some petunias, marigolds, straw flowers, statice. There's some pincushion flowers, celosia. These are gomphrena, right? Yep. Gomphrena, artemisia, dahlias, ageratum, green dragon cress, and then like 300 plus geraniums, and all of our anise hyssop. Doesn't that look better? Oh, so we still have a workspace that we can easily maneuver around. We can get to everything with the hose, and we have plenty of space to bring some things into today. So I'm gonna head out to the high tunnel because I think that's where we're gonna unload everything. We'll end up bringing some of them over by Gator to this greenhouse. And here's a before shot of the high tunnel before the annuals arrive. Is that the truck? I think the truck is just about ready to pull down our lane. Okay, let's look really quick. Nice and open. We do have a few perennials and annuals hanging out. There's some Fall in Love Sweetly anemones, some Monarda, a Miss Violet Buddleia. Oh, so pretty. Lots of space in here. Actually feels quite warm if you're protected from that gusting wind out there. Ugh. We've got the primrose still in here and the hostas. And then I've got a small collection of other things going on over here. Some other hostas, ferns, geraniums. Around the outside here, we've got other perennials and a few shrubs as well. Paul and Bethany spent some time out here this morning. There was some weeds that they got all cut back with the mower, and then got these all organized. And aren't these handy? Paul built these, and I think I've shown them to you before. They're just like little wood grids that you can put plants in so they don't topple over. I love it. Keeps everything nice. That's the truck. Okay, so we are gonna get them all unloaded and then I'll give you a tour. And do keep in mind when you see all of these annuals, they are for a bunch of different projects that we have going on. Some of them will end up here and some of them will not. Oh my goodness, you guys. Oh, the high tunnel is now full and so is the other greenhouse. So we're gonna do a walk through here, then we'll go to the other greenhouse and do a walk through there. Pardon the plastic flapping around in the wind. It's just part of life here in the spring. But first off, we've got the purple fountain grass right here, which everyone loves. This is such a beautiful grass, and I actually like to plant this one in the ground more than I like to use it in containers. I don't know why. I think it's equally as beautiful, but in the ground, it just adds such a gorgeous accent that you can't get from any perennial grass out there. You don't get that combination of color and size and the plumes. There's a lot of pretty perennial grasses out there, but nothing quite like this. All right, so let's start on this side, and we're gonna go pretty quick because there's quite a number of varieties, and many of these you've probably seen already. Some of them are new for this year. We were able to try them out last year, like the yellow, the saffron finch Supertunia. But anyway, we've got the Supertunia Royal Velvet, which are actually quite small at the moment. And I noticed that about this load as opposed to others in the past, there are a few varieties that are on the small side, which is almost nice, because usually when we get like to the Supertunia Vista bubblegums, those are already so big in their containers that oftentimes we have to separate them from the gate, which means you have to have extra flats, which we save from year to year. We've got a big stack in the barn so that we could separate plants so they have enough airflow and light, and they're not competing, because that makes the plants just kind of sick. And then they take up double the floor space. So it's almost nice when they're a bit small, because then they can stay in these flats for a while. So the Royal Velvets, and then one that's fairly similar but a smaller flower. These are the Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine. They stay a little bit more compact to the ground. They spread out a little further, a little bit of a smaller flower, but oh my gosh, I loved these. I planted them last year by the chicken coop and they did so beautifully. Then we have the Supertunia Black Cherry. There's the Superbena Pink Cashmere right here. One of my favorites is the Sparkling Amethyst Superbena. I mean, always right from the beginning, they are just stunning. And I think the word sparkling in their name is so perfect because they do kind of sparkle with the type of color they've got. And then we've got Superbena Cobalt. Isn't that a beauty? And it looks really pretty with this one. Then we have the Superbena Sparkling Rose, which again has that color variation but in the pink family instead of purple. Supertunia Honey. I think these are so gorgeous because you get a variation of color. You get the honey color, that kind of mustard, all the way to kind of a mauve pink and an apricot. They're just beautiful. Superbena Violet Ice, which we planted these in our big pots last year, and they're awesome. They get massive. I think we had them in the containers at the corner of our Hartley last year as well. My goodness, they got big. I had them in there with the Royal Velvet Supertunia, and it was a gorgeous mix. Superbena Whiteout. These get absolutely enormous and full of the bright white flowers. We've got the Alyssum. This is the Violet Night Lobularia, or Alyssum, however you like to call it. And then we've got the Diamond Frost Euphorbia, and I think is there Diamond Mountain? No, this is all Diamond Frost right here. Then we've got the Blushing Princess Lobularia, which these get way more full of flower than they are right now, and they're more on the blushy pink side of things. And then we have the Snow Princess, which these are the bright white, and you can see the gorgeous color. They're just full already. Lemon Coral Sedum, Campfire Marshmallow Bidens. Loved this one last year. So the tag says they get 8 to 14 inches tall. Mine got at least 14 inches tall, and they spread out every bit as wide as they're supposed to. Max 16 inches. I would say that mine got a little bit bigger. I don't know. They loved the spot behind the chicken coop last year, and I was very impressed with these, as I am with all of the Gaura. So this is the Carolee Petite Pink Gaura. I love to use these as a centerpiece in containers. And then we've got the Stratosphere White Gaura. And then we've got one that I haven't tried yet, the Pink Picotee. It's not a new variety, I don't think, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of like a variation between the two. You've got like kind of some white and pink in the blooms, and that'll be fun. Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. This is kind of like the Superbena Whiteout in that it will just, you don't need very many of these to create massive impact. And then on this table here, we have the Angel Face Super Blue Angelonia, which they are very deceiving right now in how they look. They get quite tall, like between about 3.5 feet. My goodness, this plastic is so loud to me. I don't know how it's picking up in the microphone. I apologize if it's hard to listen to. Right behind that, this is one of my favorite annuals ever, the Rockin' Playin' the Blue Salvia. I love the velvety look of their leaves. They're super tough. They get nice and big, like 2 to 4 feet tall and wide, and they get that big for us. Blue blooms all through the season. Love them. Superbell's Double Redstone. I was surprised at how much I liked this one last year when we grew it. We had it in the hay racks, you know, the hay rack project that we did last year, where we planted all of the new varieties for this year. And oh my goodness, we had it at the end because I thought, well, it's red, so I don't want to have it in the middle of a bunch of pinks. And I don't know if it's the mix of the red with the yellow or like the color of the aged blooms, but that little yellow or the aged blooms kind of like tones down the brighter red in the flower, and it just is a more subdued look to me, and I really enjoyed it. See, like right here, that's a much more subdued look. And then just the amount of those, especially as the season goes with the yellow, it just, I don't know, I really think it's a pretty one. Double Twilight grew this in containers and in the ground last year, and it did great. On the ground down here, we have a whole bunch of begonias. We've got the Surefire White, the Surefire Rose, Surefire, let's see, did we get any of the Cherry Cordials? I don't know if we did this year. Mostly rose and white. We do have some of the Nonstop Mocha White Begonia, which I'm noticing a whole bunch of them are red, but I did notice that they tucked in a couple of extra flats of white begonias, a different variety, but they look fairly similar so that we'd have enough white for whatever project we had these allocated for. All of these plants are grown by Moss Greenhouses in Jerome, Idaho, and they actually supply a bunch to my parents' garden center. They're really wonderful to work with, and they do a great job. Coming over onto this side, oh, these are so pretty. These are the Rockapoko Apple Blossom Impatiens. Look at that. Look at the color of these blooms. Anything that says apple blossom, I know I'm gonna love it. I just love that delicate pink color. It's so beautiful. Now the Tropical Shades tag, if I saw that with no flower on these plants, that would scare me. That is so bright. But look at the flower. Isn't that gorgeous? It's like a salmon pink. Gorgeous. We've got some Rockapoko White Impatiens here, no color yet. And then this is the one I ordered the most of. These are the Supertunia Saffron Finch, and I just think these are so gorgeous. I had these planted in the ground and in one of the hay racks last year, and they just performed beautifully. And this is the color of yellow I like. It's kind of lemony and fresh, but it's also soft and buttery on the edge, so it tones it down and kind of is very pleasant. And then we've got Supertunia Bordeaux, which has always been a favorite. They're so pretty. And look at them with the saffron finch. Such a pretty combination. Then we've got the Persimmon Supertunia, which these are just such a unique color. Bright pink around the margin and then that kind of mustardy yellow in the middle. And they have a very tropical vibe to them. The Queen Tut grass. I loved this one. I think I grew this year before last. And out of all the tuts, there's, baby, prince, and king, and now Queen Tut. This is my favorite. On the other tut grasses, I felt like the ends of the plumes always wanted to brown out for us in our very hot, dry climate. The Queen Tuts just seem to be a little bit more sturdy for us. And they're a really great size. 18 to 24 inches tall and about that wide. That's just a very nice compact grass. Great for, I used it in it was in a part sun container. Part shade. And then I've got some ivy here, which honestly was ordered for our window boxes, which are not on the house. So we'll find a way to use those up. We've got the Safari Dusk James Britannia. First time growing it last year because I think it's a new variety for this year. Absolutely gorgeous and an amazing performer. Supertunia Priscilla. Oh, I love this one. It's like a Bordeaux, but on steroids. I just love the fluffiness of that flower. Then we have the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid, which here's a flower right there. And I have to be honest, usually I'm a little bit tentative about flowers with a bright white margin or striping, because most of the time I feel like it's a little bit jarring having that high of a contrast in a single flower. But we planted these last year. So we had them in a hay rack, but we also had some leftovers. So I popped them in the ground and they created the most beautiful, bright spot in the garden. And we commented on it every single day because we go out and walk in the gardens every single night. And every time we were walking around, we'd stop and comment on that flower and how beautiful it was. And then we've got some Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, which I don't think I got any of last year. So I'm excited to have that one back in the garden again. And then we've got the Supertunia Mini Vista White. So just a miniature, smaller flower than the Supertunia Snowdrift. And then Supertunia Latte. There's a flower. Oh, I love that. Kind of an antique-y version. Okay, so that is the walkthrough out here. Let's head to the other greenhouse and take a look. Also, we have a pop-up bag full of frost cloth. It's only supposed to get to 38 tonight, but like I said, these came from a warmer greenhouse. And even though they're under protection, they can still get little wafts of that cold air, especially with how windy it is today. So I'm gonna cover everything tonight. And of course, all the nights after tonight are gonna be in the 50s. Urch. Let's look at that really quick. I forgot I said we would walk around and look at all the concrete. My goodness. I feel like today has just been a whirlwind. Ooh, of course now it's in kind of dappled shade, but you can see it, my word, that's a nice thick piece of concrete right there. And it'll be nice to have a level base to put the fountain on. And it's gonna be up a bit, so we can plant a little something around the base just to kind of hide that and soften it. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, onward. That one's all done. I can't wait till it's all dried out and it matches all the rest of them. And there's the little extension right there. Here's the trench, part of the trench from the electricians. They got that all worked out. And we had our well tested and everything, the pressure tested, and they say it's a really good one. It's pretty deep. It's like, I think they went into an aquifer that's lower than the other ones that we've tapped into. And it's got really, really good water flow. And our step leading up into the barn. And the basketball court, I think I'll just leave that for another day. You saw the holes, they're just full of concrete with that little piece set inside it. I can't even believe it, but we had exactly the amount of space we needed. We filled up this middle table. I filled up this little spot on the side. So these are the white begonias that were filled in for those red ones. And then we've got the Luscious Royale Pina Colada Lantana and the Pinkberry Blend Lantana. Brought these in here, and they even said they're on a little bit on the small side. Do you want us to keep them and grow them a little bigger, or do you want to grow them on yourself, which we can absolutely do in here. And then over here, we've got the Amazel Basil, and then we've got a few flats of this gorgeous Muhlenbeckia. This is the big leaf wire vine. Oh, so pretty. And then a table full of the most beautiful foliage plants ever. All of them, except for two varieties, are Color Blaze Coleus, which means they can handle sun or shade. And that's been thoroughly tried and tested all over the place. And I was so skeptical of that claim in the beginning. I thought no Coleus is going to stand our summer sun with the amount of dry heat and wind and you know, no cloud cover, no protection, and they sure enough do. As long as they get plenty of moisture, they're totally fine. So first up, the Sedona Sunset. I love the fall shades, but it's got kind of an iridescent purple center to the, you know, like the new growth is that color. Then we've got the Lime Time, which even though this one doesn't offer a tremendous amount in the way of, you know, color variation and variegation, this in a part shade area or shade adds so much brightness because of that chartreuse color. Then we have the Dipped in Wine, which, you know, I mean, you guys can see how gorgeous it is. So you get the depth of color, but then the bright pop with the chartreuse. Then you have the Ridiculous, which does give you that red foliage color that I love. I love to have pops of red in foliage around in the garden. And then we've got the Wicked Witch, and this one has become a favorite. I love the burgundy centers and that bright chartreuse center. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get the light and the dark, and you get that super, like, not fluffy, but scalloped leaf. And then we have the El Brido Coleus, which this sometimes takes on more of a salmon kind of pink look, and sometimes more of a burgundy. Sometimes you get all of the colors, and it's just a beauty. And then we've got the couple that are not coleus here. We've got the Persian Shield, which I thought would be a fun one to mix in probably some part shade containers. It does say it can take full 2-part sun, but again, I feel like maybe I need to test it out in a sunnier spot. Maybe it will do it beautifully. To me, it looks like it needs some protection, but I don't know. We'll see. And then we've got the Sweetheart Lime Sweet Potato Vine. And out of all the sweet potato vines that have ever existed that I've ever planted, this is my favorite. I tend to like the sweet potato vines that are a little bit more controlled in their growth, that have more of a clean line around their leaf. I don't like the ones that are wild looking because it adds just too much texture and a little bit too much, just too much for my eye, and that's just a personal opinion. And I think a lot of them are really neat, and I've tried and I will continue to try a bunch of different varieties, but this one has been my favorite for many years. I just love it, and it doesn't get out of control like some of the others do. And then right up here we have a Snoozing Russell. Hey buddy. You look very comfy in that dirt. Anyway guys, that is it for today's projects. What a day it has been, and it's just been a flurry of activity. Even though I just kind of was showing you what I was doing, there were so many other working parts going on today, and that always feels really fun. It feels like things are happening and things are, you know, I don't know. It's just a fun feeling. And I hope that this video comes together in a cohesive way. Whenever I'm kind of all over the place, it feels a little bit like a mess. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, kind of hearing our thoughts for this space behind our barn. You know, we'll see what comes of that as the years progress, but just getting things kind of started, getting infrastructure going, and then at least having that done makes you feel like whatever you decide later on will be much easier to attain. And now that we have all of our annuals, and it looks like the temperatures are going to be well above freezing, at least for the 10-day, we can start doing our summer planting. I feel so relaxed this year, though. I haven't felt in a rush, like even to get my seedlings out. It's like, it'll happen, right? It happens every year. There's no reason to stress about it. I am a little stressed about the brand new plants with the 38-degree night. So I think covering them will be nice, but I'm just going to plug away at it over the next few weeks, and we will get these annuals in containers in the ground and spread around the town. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.